Facts are only its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle of life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is the cross. Wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal. Immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure. Truth shall hold to the last.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Never be surprised by what does not happen on NewsSpin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the world's most monitored talk show, NewsSpin on Power 97.9 FM. We are also on the NewsSpin Facebook page as well as the NewsSpin YouTube channel. My name is Timothy Poleon. We're going on until I don't know. But we'll give you some extra time because we were not on the air yesterday. You'll be able to call at 452-2979, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, 716-2026. And Amanda will be going through some of your comments in the chat room. What happened yesterday? I made a promise to you, and like most St. Lucian politicians, I could not deliver. And for that, I sincerely apologize. Amanda is my witness. Likewise, the other employees here at Power 97.9. I arrived at the radio station at about 9:45 a.m. All set to deliver on time at 12:30. But we had a major inconvenience. My technical operator relied on this guy wholeheartedly. He had an emergency and he could not make it. Got a call indicating as late as about 25 minutes after 12 that things would be rectified sufficiently and we would be late. So I imagine we'll be on at about 1:45 or 1 p.m. and would have gone until, let's say, 2:30 in the afternoon. But it was just not possible. And I did alert you via social media that the broadcast would be late. And many of you took serious objection because I did not deliver. And Amanda will be doing us the honors, going through your reaction when we did not come on the air. So she'll be going through some of those comments very early on. And I think you found some of them to be very comical, light-hearted, Amanda, but I must confess that up to a day like today, I have not gone through those comments because I really cannot stomach disappointing you, the news spinners, and I know how you take things sometimes very on a very personal note. And I don't like some of the reactions. But anyway, Amanda will go through some of those comments. Do the honors, Amanda. Those that you can read on the air.
Okay. Good afternoon, Tim. Good afternoon, News Spinners. Someone says here, it seems like today is a Fool's Day again. Another comment, look like NewsSpin will be from Tuesdays to Saturdays, making PJP's dream a reality. Someone says here, look like they sabotaging your show team. Another comment reads, don't have us out here like Brother Bob waiting in vain. Someone says here, is that due to supporting local internet? Another comment reads, why is this happening? Is it sabotage? Isn't there a regional organization to complain to? Another comment here, not a word, not a word, not a word. Someone says their sad thing is there is not even a rebroadcast on the radio, just like a jouer music, shake my head. Another comment reads, team, don't give up, hold strong. Someone says there, who's paying NewsSpinners for the inconvenience battling between lunch, work, and NewsSpin? Sorry for the inconvenience is unacceptable. Another comment reads, what's going on? NewsSpin is worse than Flo and Wasco these days. Another comment reads, would you like the U.S. Marines to come to your rescue team? Someone says here, this is duty bound to tell the listeners. Tim, this is duty bound to tell the listeners that the problem he has been experiencing. Another comment reads here, this has been the second time it is happening. Power 97.9 is playing from morning, and as soon as it's time for NewsSpin, it goes to a coma or stroke, and then no NewsSpin. Another comment here reads, too often this is happening, Tim. Someone says, Tim, you're getting tired or what? Another comment reads, Tim, what is going on? Looks like they are trying to sabotage your program. They are scared of the truth, but that won't shut you up. Someone says here, I need someone to go to the American drywall. Okay, that's not relating to what I was reading. Another comment reads, something is not right. Are the voices of the people being silenced? I am asking, I do not want to leave it for speculation. And someone says here, that was 1 hour ago. What is the meaning of late? Someone says here, I am enjoying my own NewsSpin, just reading all of your comments. And let's see if we have some more comments here.
But in the meantime, somebody says in the chat room, Team Afi, I had to use a weed eater to trim that big fur. The go well. All right. So thank you so much, Amanda, for doing us the honors. So over the weekend, I received via WhatsApp a video that was concocted where somebody gobbled it together, a few clips, to convey a particular message. And that message is, Tim is unduly critical of the Prime Minister of St. Lucia when it comes to him addressing the St. Lucian public on this tariffs issue. The tariffs is being imposed on 180 countries, including St. Lucia and other Caribbean countries, which have been impacted via a 10% baseline tax. Unfortunately for Ghana, it's at 38%. The likes of China, 34%, in addition to the 20% that was imposed on that nation prior to that. And I've been very consistent on this particular issue in lamenting the absence of a cogent statement from the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, one that is not mixed with other issues. So you treat this particular matter with the urgency that it deserves. And I also said that when it matters most, if you have 3 or 4 homicides occurring over a weekend, you don't hear from the Prime Minister. And of course, the opposite happens with a number of regional countries and their Prime Ministers. Take Mia Motley, a youngster killed, etc., and you feel the immediacy in terms of her response. And I did make that lamentation. Now, what was done by a particular individual, I think a guy who lives in his father's and his mom's basement with a computer, just listening to every talk show and extracting certain clips and engaging in all kind of misinformation and disinformation, is that he came across a couple of clips where the Prime Minister had addressed this whole matter before the President of the United States had made the actual announcement of the imposition of those tariffs. And for now, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia is just about the only regional leader who has not seriously addressed that issue in the aftermath of that statement announcement that was made by the U.S. President on Wednesday of last week. So never mind he was anticipating, because what he would have said prior to the announcement would have been him anticipating it and not being so certain and not so sure whether this will come into effect and so on. But once the president had made the announcement and made certain specific pronouncements, I am sure that the leaders would have to make the necessary adjustments in terms of their response. Because rest assured, the people of any country, under such trying circumstances, they look to their leaders to address those issues in a nimble manner and to speak from the heart. You remember COVID-19? Imagine if we were resting on our laurels. Imagine if we were biding time, waiting for something to happen, for somebody to die, before we make an actual statement. The Prime Minister is not known for being proactive when it comes to communicating directly and immediately on issues of a catastrophic proportion, if it does not in any way give him, his administration, or the St. Lucia Labour Party some kind of political advantage. So your last address to the nation was on what? The government of St. Lucia giving what was due to public sector workers. It was a Tuesday evening. You remember that? And this coincided with his Town Hall Tuesday activity. In this current era, an environment when, if you are attending a conference in South Africa as the Prime Minister of a country, you have the resources at your disposal via technology, through your phone, to address the nation, your nation, on an issue which would have happened on home soil. It is inexcusable. It is unacceptable that our Prime Minister has been found wanting on so many occasions involving critical issues that are impacting the wider St. Lucian audience. So you can put your clips all you want, put them together, and try to paint me as a liar or somebody who's trying to mislead my audience. The reality is that it's a fact that the Prime Minister is not sufficiently nimble and eager to address the nation on issues that are directly impacting them. The PR from that perspective, as far as the government of St. Lucia is concerned, very weak, non-existent. So let me play you the clip where some operative of the St. Lucia Labour Party is trying to give the impression that I was not so kosher. And what I did in terms of trying to enlighten the people of St. Lucia of that great deficiency on the part of the Prime Minister was inappropriate. And so you expect, in such circumstances, what we're going through right now, the Senutian leader would address the nation. Not have an official address to the nation, but communicate something.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre has announced the formation of a task force to address the impact of the new U.S. tariffs. The Prime Minister is urging calm and assuring of the government's commitment to protecting St. Lucians.
When the United States, when they decide on the policy, we have to find ways and means of mitigating the effects. So assurance is not possible. What's possible is the government will do whatever the government can do within its powers to lessen the effects of American policy on St. Lucia.
So the Prime Minister is missing in action on that particular issue.
In response to the tariffs, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre announced a task force headed by Commerce Minister Emma Hypocrite to monitor these global developments.
We are creating that special task force to look at the implications, and I hope that all the people involved in the importation of goods or work with that task force to see what we can do to mitigate against the effects of the tariffs.
We continue the broadcast with news that the inaugural meeting of the Strategic Ministerial Task Force to evaluate the local effects of the imposition of tariffs by the United States on several major trading partners took place today. So, the Prime Minister would have spoken on that issue prior to the announcement that was made by President Donald Trump on Wednesday. After that, not a word from the St. Lucian leader. Until Sunday, addressing the opening of the library market, made reference to this issue. But let me help you understand what has really gone awry as far as the lack of a response, a studious effort on the part of the St. Lucian leader to communicate directly to the St. Lucian audience. Not through a little clip there, a little statement there, a side interview there. He's asked a question during the pre-cabinet press briefing and he responds there, etc. A focused and deliberate response from our St. Lucian leader. This is what is warranted. Let me take you to Singapore. And the Prime Minister there, one Lawrence Wong, he has been the Prime Minister of Singapore from 2024. 2021, he assumed the post of Finance Minister. After the announcement by the President, he issued a statement. Let's listen to him.
I've said before that the world is changing in ways that will disadvantage small open economies like Singapore. Some had previously questioned this assessment, but the recent Liberation Day announcement by the US leaves no room for doubt. It marks a seismic change in the global order. The era of rules-based globalization and free trade is over. We are entering a new phase, one that is more arbitrary, protectionist, and dangerous. For decades, the US was the bedrock for the free market economies of the world. It championed free trade and led efforts to build a multilateral trading system, anchored by clear rules and norms, where countries could achieve win-win benefits through trade. This WTO system brought unprecedented stability and prosperity to the world and to the US itself. To be clear, the system is not perfect. Singapore and many others have long called for reform to update the rules and to make the system better. But what the US is doing now is not reform. It is abandoning the entire system it had created. Its new approach of reciprocal tariffs, country by country, is a complete rejection of the WTO framework. The US has placed Singapore in the lowest base tier with a tariff of 10%. So the direct impact on us may be limited for now, but there are wider and more profound consequences. If other countries adopt the same approach as the US, abandoning the WTO and trading only on their own preferred terms country by country, it will spell trouble for all nations, especially small ones like Singapore. We risk being squeezed out, marginalized, and left behind. We can also expect a strong global response to America's tariffs. Singapore has decided not to impose retaliatory tariffs, but other countries may not exercise the same restraint. The likelihood of a full-blown global trade war is growing. The impact of the higher tariffs plus the uncertainty of what other countries may do next will weigh heavily on the global economy. International trade and investments will suffer, and global growth will slow. Singapore will take a bigger hit than others because of our heavy reliance on trade. The last time the world experienced something like this was in the 1930s. Trade wars escalated into armed conflict and eventually the Second World War. No one can say how the current situation will unfold in the coming months or years. But we must be clear-eyed about the dangers that are building up in the world. Global institutions are getting weaker. International norms are eroding. More and more countries will act based on narrow self-interest and use force or pressure to get their way. This is the harsh reality of our world today. We will stay vigilant. We will build up our capabilities. We will strengthen our network of partnerships with like-minded countries. We are more ready than many other countries with our reserves, our cohesion, and our resolve. But we must brace ourselves for more shocks to come. The global calm and stability we once knew will not return anytime soon. We cannot expect that the rules which protected small states will still hold. I'm sharing this with you so that we can all be mentally prepared, so that we will not be caught off guard. Let us not be lulled into complacency. The risks are real and the stakes are high. The road ahead will be harder. But if we stay resolute and united, Singapore will continue to hold its own in this troubled world.
Prime Minister of Singapore, Lawrence Wong, speaking a few days after President Trump announced the imposition of tariffs on 180 countries, including St. Lucia. In the case of our island, he is more effusive, he is more eager to address political issues while he's on the hustings, including on the Castries market steps, as opposed to displaying the same level of vigor and enthusiasm when it entails issues that are of relevance to the people of St. Lucia, to you. So it was on Sunday. The Prime Minister spoke at the opening of the library market. And again, en passant, he made reference to the tariff issue. Let's listen and watch.
The United States have imposed upon us tariffs that will affect our country. It will affect the world. But some people in St. Lucia were trying to make you believe that little St. Lucia can cause the United States to change its mind. We cannot cause the United States to change its mind, but we can take steps and we can do things that can help us to deal with that situation. And what can we do? We can, one, begin, and I will say it again, despite the criticisms and the hypocrisy of the opposition, I will say it again, we can take these small steps. We can begin to deal with our food security by beginning to grow our own food in our backyards. I'll say it again with conviction. We can begin to take these small steps, each man taking a small step, so that we can at least try to deal with some of the food insecurity that we will face when imported food get that 10% tariff, and that manifests itself in prices in solution. How can we do it? We can do it by strengthening the Library Credit Union. You see what the Library Credit Union is doing, an indigenous institution. They took a small step, and now they are one of the largest credit unions in the OECS. Small step. And that is what St. Lucia is about. That is what the St. Lucia Labour Party is about. Small steps. Not depending on somebody to come and take 1,000 of our acres and give us dreams of all kinds of things. 23 islands, things that will never happen. Taking small steps. Dealing with our Airbnb in Labrie. Causing our visitors to come and spend time in Martin Luther King Street in Labrie. Causing the tourist dollar to remain in St. Lucia. Small steps.
Small steps. Don't expect anything grand, anything sophisticated, anything well planned. Small steps. Let's settle for that. 452-2979, 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, 716-2026. Still to come, we'll be hearing from an economist, and he has some advice for you, the consumers. You know, NewsSpin has always been about doing what the authorities are afraid to do, and that is address the issues of the day. Try it as much as possible to enlighten the people on those critical matters that are affecting them. It's about being immediate. It is about being on the ground. It is all about being relevant. Without blowing our trumpet, can you recall our response to COVID-19 in 2021? I hope you can recall that we took the lead on educating the St. Lucian public, informing them, maintaining the awareness as far as our response to this pandemic. Let's hear from you right now at 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. And let us return to the chat room to find out what is happening there. I imagine that, Amanda, you have some updates. Let's go.
A NewsSpinner says, Tim, I thought the inconvenience for NewsSpin not being aired yesterday was because the government was at the station introducing Tyson's brother. Another comment reads, Starstruck is guilty of mixing and matching videos to suit their disingenuous narrative. A NewsSpinner says, Tim, just imagine saying Kitts and Nevis had their first homicide last week. Another comment reads, Tim, the Prime Minister is not a police officer, his father was. Someone says PJP is still searching for his exercise book to make an address to the nation. A commentator reads, PJP is taking this matter for a joke. America does not make empty threats. We better take warning. A NewsSpinner says PJP's address to the nation were all campaign addresses. Another comment reads, PJP does not care. The tariffs will not impact him unduly. The poor people of St. Lucia are the ones who will suffer dearly from the effects of the imposed tariffs by Trump. Someone says this task force is tasked with the job of removing the responsibility of the effect of the tariffs on PJP and blame everything on external forces.
We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon, NewsSpin. You are on the air. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, Timothy.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon to you.
I don't think our Prime Minister can address St. Lucian. I think he can only address his his SLP people, because when he spoke there, it's the SLP people he was talking to, not to St. Lucian. And his hypocrisy. Actually, the minister came out and she said they haven't gotten any report yet from the US. They are still waiting for a gold letter from Donald Trump to let them know that he's imposing 10% tariff on St. Lucia. Come on, wake up, St. Lucian. We are in deep doo-doo down here in St. Lucia. We need to wake up. We need a change. We cannot have our prime minister to address us. So he's addressing part of St. Lucia. So is he the prime minister for part of St. Lucia for the Labour Party and not for St. Lucia? That is pure disrespect. And we, St. Lucian, we're not standing for that. We need a prime minister that can address us when there's a problem, when there's something. Address us. Not part of St. Lucia. He wasn't addressing St. Lucia. He was addressing the Labour Party. And this is pure disrespect to us, St. Lucian. Thank you, Timothy.
Thank you so much for calling, ma'am. 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. 716-2026. Somebody says there, Flow is already imposing an increase of 2.5% as of May the 1st, 2025. Let's see if we have another WhatsApp message. Tell the Prime Minister to ensure the removal of all the stumbling blockage that his administration has been placing on Helen's daughters' way to prevent the women farmers from going forward. Let him find out what is the problem, why they cannot get the land after almost 3 years. These women have a great contribution to make to St. Lucia's food security. Help them so they can help out themselves. Let's see if we have another WhatsApp message. I listened to that clip in library and I'm still confused on what the Prime Minister was saying. Let's see if we have another WhatsApp message. Tim, I really cannot listen to the Prime Minister. When he speaks, he doesn't ease my fears. I have no confidence in him. He is too laid back on serious affairs. Another WhatsApp message. There are more people without land in St. Lucia than people who have, Mr. Prime Minister. Some more of your messages. Somebody says that increasingly, Lisa Jawayer has been propelling her name in the media, maybe to overcome Joachim. However, we all know within the context Mr. Guy Joseph was speaking as he referred to faulty or inadequate equipment and expired medications. Jawayer never stepped up to ask Richard Frederick to apologize when he made disrespectful comments about women. Is she afraid of him or is she just being hypocritical? The person continues, how many families in St. Lucia have homes, far less a backyard? What will the people in the CDC do? Let's see if we have another WhatsApp message. Somebody says, isn't the tariff on goods exported to the U.S.? Please explain between import and export. Another comment. Somebody says there via WhatsApp, I heard that famous word readied in the Singapore Prime Minister address. Let's see if we have a call on the landline at 452-2979. Let's see there. In the meantime, somebody says there via WhatsApp, somebody said, I've been hearing you from the inception of NewsSpin because my mom always had you on. Now I'm 26 and it's my midday coffee at home and at work every day. Keep up the good work. We have a call.
Good afternoon, Tim.
Yes, caller. Good afternoon to you.
Okay, Tim. I tried yesterday, but unfortunately your show was not on. But anyway, Tim, what I want to say this afternoon is it looked like to me the Catholic Church is under attack at all angles when it comes to the Labour Party because my reasons for saying that there is an ongoing construction work at the Larissa's playing field. And I'm not too sure if the church was consulted with this construction going on presently. Well, if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me, but to me, my investigation is saying that the church was not consulted, okay? But the other thing is, with all those development, Tim, I'm not saying that we're not supporting development in this country, but the other question is, what is the result of those developments? The construction that is going on there now, is actually something that was done 10 years ago by Sean Edwards. And he took the taxpayers' money to build the fence around the playing field. And look, just after 10 years to destroy it and then to redo it again. So my question is, where was those visions 10 years ago? I mean, we don't want a minister who is just representing us just for 5 years vision, and then in the long run we have to go back and spend more money doing the very same thing. Now, Tim, when it comes to that lavishious field, I can give you a bit of history as to some of the achievement that we have had on this playing field. Tim, we had successful football players, and if I have to go mention some of them, like we had Rene Regis, we had Leighton Santiford, we had Zacchaeus Polios, and we have achieved so much before the upgrading of that field. Mabia Valley have won the Black Hat 3 times in a row. Well, not in a row, but we have won the Black Hat 3 times. We have had a lot of good cricketers. We have had like Vernon Evans, we had John Prince, we have a guy I remember, Cornelius Fauché. That was one of the fastest bowler we could have found in the Valley, Mabuya. He represented St. Lucia, and all those names that I have mentioned, they have represented St. Lucia. Some of them have represented the Windward Island. And Tim, we achieved all of that on the 3 past representative, I could say, the late Ferdinand Henry, the Mr. Tony Torrance, and Marcus Nicholas. We achieved all of those things, and the playing field was not upgraded. But what is happening now, Tim, under Sean Edwards, who is the youngest representative we have had in Renoff. Okay, we have not achieved nothing from him, nothing under his rep, nothing under his watch for the last 15 years. Okay, so we are asking the question, all those money that is spending to upgrade those fields, what are the results of it? You know, what are the results? For you to tell me now, you want to put light on a Grand Ravine field, which is smaller or maybe same size with the little field they have in Cicero. So we're spending all those money, and just to say to the people that we are doing things, but what are the results of those things that we are doing on those fields? Okay, so these are the things we need to check. And the worst thing is, again, as your first caller said this a while ago, Tim, the Prime Minister was just preaching or talking to the SLP people that was in front of him. But my other point is, with all those persons that Mr. Sean Edwards are employing in the Valley, they all are people he believes that voted for him the last election. If you can count, there is not one person that is supporting the other party that are employed under Sean's whatever contract that he's distributing in the Valley. And this is bad, because when you go at the House of Assembly, you mention in Denry North, so it's one set of people. It's one set of people only you're representing when you're giving jobs. But when you're in the House of Parliament, you want to represent everybody. But I also want to let him know, I hope he have the numbers of those persons that he are employing, because numbers don't lie. And if he believes that the amount of people that he's employing today can help him win the election, I think he needs to count again. And I just hope that he will not ask for a recount when the next general election comes in Denrinoff. Tim, I thank you.
Thank you so much for calling. WhatsApp message. It is clear to me that the Prime Minister is unclear on the impact of the 10% tariff imposition on St. Lucia by the United States. The impact is on exported goods, not imported goods. When our producers send goods to the U.S., those items will attract 10% tax upon entering the U.S., causing us to lose our competitive edge in the United States market. A WhatsApp message. Time now for a WhatsApp call. Good afternoon to you, NewsSpin. You're on the air. Hello.
Good afternoon, Tim.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to you, caller.
How are you guys
Good
doing?
afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon to you. I'm okay.
Yes, Tim. This situation with the taxes being imposed on everyone, every country, and I have tried to listen to the Prime Minister from that time, Wednesday of last week, thinking maybe the man is going to come to the forefront to say something to the people. However, business as usual. And that's his word. He always, when he was in opposition, he always talks about the government like that. Business as usual. You know, Tim, we are planning for for jazz. We are planning for carnival. Who are those people partaking in jazz and carnival? It's the same citizenry. Why are you not coming out, encouraging those people to anchor down, because the time ahead could be very detrimental to their finances? You know, I look at the Prime Minister to be a very careless and reckless individual, because in my humble opinion, I should always also mention that he's very selfish, because if anything is not in the favor of the party, because it's not of the government, it's of the party for him, he's not quickly coming to the forefront to educate the people. You guys remember back in the when Alan used to be the Prime Minister and Philip was the opposition. You remember every time Alan used to have that a press conference right after Philip JP has a press conference, Tim?
Yeah.
It bothers me right now. It really bothers me. Why was he doing these things? What did he really care about the people and the country, like he's saying? Because if now you have the mantle, Tim, why are you not doing those things? Why are you not eager to address the nation when something like that is coming? And I'm telling the people, yes, the man was talking to the SLP people at the meeting. However, Tim, there is something that's important he didn't mention. You remember, he said that the people should plant food behind their homes, small gardens, whatever, because of food security. But he never mentioned the levy he has, the 2.5% levy, that he can actually curtail. You know, he never mentioned that the price of gas has went down significantly. And again, with that tariff that is imposed, the price of gas will still plummet. You understand? Why is he not at least tackling those things? Because when you look at him, he imposed that on the people in the country. That was there before the tariff. So if you want to help, why not start there as a Prime Minister? Why are you asking those people now, not saying that what he's saying is not correct? Because I strongly believe the more food you plant as a nation, the better it is for you, the people. But Tim, there are measures he can take immediately that could impact those people in 2-3 months, right away. You know, go in and start off a garden wouldn't impact those people right away. You understand what I'm saying? We need to be more careful, you know, as to who we vote for and why we voting. Not because a man has been representing a community or a district for so long that we just keep voting for him because why? We love Philip Japia. Really? But Tim Masha has been the same for God knows how long. You know, what has Philip Japia done the past 4 years, that have changed lives in St. Lucia meaningfully? How much job creation have Philip Japia brought in the country? Whereas, and I'm not talking about handout jobs, because there are some jobs that are handout, those small contracts here and there. I'm talking about sustainable job, Tim. Tim, we really need to start focusing on the right things. Because honestly, if you ask me, Tim, a lot of these monies that have been spending, if they were going in the right places, our country would be in a totally different path, Tim. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for calling, sir. Still to come, we have the NewsSpin Hypocrite of the Day. This is the most monitored talk show in the world. Stay with us.
KFC has done it again. Introducing the Wow Box, the ultimate meal deal that'll have you saying wow. For just $23, you get one crispy, juicy KFC sandwich, one piece of finger-licking good chicken, a serving of hot golden fries, more flavor, more crunch, more wow, all in one box. Hurry to KFC and grab yours now. Dine in, drive through, or order online at kfcslu.com. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Lazarus's funeral home is here for you. Lazarus's private cemetery offers a peaceful resting place for your loved ones. With tranquil settings, visitation, and reflection, we believe in the compassionate care of all our departed loved ones. Lazarus's private cemetery, let us help you create a final resting place. Make it special. Make it Lazarus's Funeral Home, your friend in a time of need. Payment plans are available for tombs. Call us in Vidbute at 452-7491 or in New Dock Road, VA4, 454-6555.
Lucelec wishes to advise customers and the public that its customer service offices at the Carolec building in Sans Souci and VA4 are temporarily closed to facilitate urgent maintenance. The Lucelec Cantonment office in VA4 is now open on a limited basis, offering all services except payments. The Rodney Bay office remains open to serve customers. Customers who wish to make payments during this closure are encouraged to access the My Account service at myaccount.lucelec.com. Sure Pays online and walk-in service options or participating financial institutions. Payments made via Sure Pay and My Account Direct on weekdays from 8 to 4 p.m. will be processed to customer accounts the same day. Payments made after 4 p.m. will be processed the next business day. For account balances, please dial the Automated Account Inquiry Service line at 457-4433. Customers can access other Lucelec services by using the virtual service desk at www.lucelec.com. The management of Lucelec deeply regrets any inconvenience caused by these closures and thanks its valued customers for their patience and understanding.
I've seen you here before, and I have something special just for you. What have we here? Happy housewarming to me? That's the MNC Home Depot Rewards Card. You'll earn points every time you shop, plus exclusive savings and promotions just for you. Just for me? Yes, just for you. Shop in store or online and enjoy a seamless experience. So I get to treat myself every time I shop? Exactly. It's time to reward yourself.
MNC Home Depot and Sunbelt Rewards Card. Sign up and reward yourself today at www.mnchomedepot.com.
So fast pay, a new and easy way to pay. So fast pay, so fast pay.
You asked for it and you got it. A quicker way to pay your bills online. It's fast, secure, and easy to use. No registration, no additional fees. Flow is now offering FastPay, an online service that allows you to settle your bills in less than 2 minutes. Need a receipt? FastPay will send it to your email immediately. Use FastPay now for convenience, safety, and efficiency at discoverflow.co/fastpay.
So fast pay, 2 minutes and you're on your way. So fast pay, so fast pay.
Flow is keeping you connected.
Stop. How much more pain can you take? Back pain, blinding headaches, numbness, weak knees, spinal injuries, stroke. You've tried everything. Nothing works. Enough. La Clinique du Corps has the experts and technology to diagnose and fix the problem permanently. Our specialist doctors use cutting-edge solutions to treat back pain, knee pain, sciatica, stroke recovery, spinal injuries, arthritis, heel pain, and more. With advanced pain management techniques, we provide fast, effective relief so you can live pain-free. La Clinique du Corps is an approved universal healthcare service provider in St. Lucia, accepting all approved insurance. Take back your life. Call La Clinique du Corps right now at 451-6559 to book your appointment. Pain stops here.
Essie, don't tell me that tire flat again. I just changed that tire.
Wait, what? You just changed that tire?
Well, I bought a used one because you didn't give me enough money.
Oh, I see. Well, you know what? Chivi's Tire Shop only carry brand new quality tires at affordable prices with free installation.
Hey, it seems you're working at Chivi's Tire Shop. How you know all that?
Come on, Brenda. The tire shop down the road from our home in the American Drywall Building.
Oh, yes. I forgot. Well, you know what, Patrick? Let's go there right now. Take your wallet. Let's go.
Chivi's Tire Shop, located at the American Drywall Building, Vic Boutte. Call or WhatsApp 584-5986. Chivi's Tire Shop. Pay less, drive more.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country when we were called to serve. we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
On Sunday, May 4th, it's a party under the pitons. Soufre Jazz, the ultimate experience. MTX Band, Sly, Arthur Alep, Rebel 7, DYP, Former Nappy, Cohen Dubois, T-Vice, and headliner Busy Signal. Party with us, dine with us, stay with us for Soufre Jazz, the ultimate experience. Tickets are only $150 EC. You can choose to elevate your experience at our VIP village for only $400 EC. The best value for money, the best vibes, and the most exquisite location. Tickets available from the Cell Outlets Island Wine, SRDF office in Soufre, and www.fourcirclestickets.com. Sunday, May 4th, Soufre Mini Stadium. Soufre Jazz, the ultimate experience.
This is the most monitored talk show in the world. NewsSpin on our NewsSpin Facebook page, as well as the NewsSpin YouTube channel and Power 97.9 FM. Stand by for the NewsSpin Hypocrite of the Day in just a moment. But first, let's go to Amanda. And Amanda will be going through some of the comments in the chat room. And just to inform you that the NewsSpin Hypocrite of the Day is a woman. Go ahead. And it's not Amanda.
A few comments from earlier. Someone says a government without answers creates a task force with the same government without answers so that the task force can give us no answers. Now the comment reads, isn't the NIC contributions invested in the US stock market? What effects does the recent downside of the market have on people's pensions, especially those retiring soon? That's the kind of information we need from Emma. Someone says are small steps, but you allowing Ernest to rob us blindly with our passport's money. But you allowing Ernest to rob us blindly with our passport money is a big step, sorry.
Well, obviously that is not the case. We have no evidence to prove that to be something that is happening. Amanda, continue.
Right. My bad. Another comment reads, Mr. Small Step, the world is moving at giant steps and you're still crawling. Someone says, I agree with PJP. We need to grow our own food. How can the Ministry of Agriculture support this initiative? Someone says, PJP will be in office for another 20 years. Another comment reads, Caller, you are so right. PJP can only speak on a platform, only speak to his Labour supporters. He can never address the nation without being political. Another comment reads, everything for PJP is small. He doesn't think outside the box. He is just keeping St. Lucia backwards. Another comment here reads, PJP tells us what we should do, but he is not saying what the government will do to give us reprieve. PJP, this is what you can do. Reduce VAT to 10% and fuel prices to 13 per gallon. Remove the 2.5% levy. Remove the 2.5 health and security levy. Back to you, Tim.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for that update. Still to come, we have some more updates from her during the course of the world's most monitored talk show. First, the NewsSpin Hypocrite of the Day, and it's a female.
Because when I need to do my medical checkup, most of the times I have to go to the United States. Because moi paye foute moi vie injection ici. Okay? You know how many people are misdiagnosed in this country? You know the stress level that people go through when they have been given the wrong diagnosis.
You, as a former government minister, you as a former parliamentarian for almost 16 years, will take a platform and tell the doctors and nurses of St. Lucia that I will not come to you for fear you give me a wrong injection. because I can now afford to go overseas and get medical care? That is absolutely disrespectful. And unless Guy Joseph comes to the people of St. Lucia to apologize, we find it very hard to forgive him for such an uncaring and disrespectful statement.
Politics is really, really something else. It really is. It is. The Prime Minister in Cabinet about 3 weeks ago said, members, we need to do something about our health system and do it with immediacy. He called in the boards of OKU and St. Jude. And basically, I was so impressed when he said, I don't want anybody slipping in the emergency department again. What do you need? And they said, I need so and so. Mr. Prime Minister said, consider it done. And he said so for several requests that will cost the government millions of dollars. I mentioned it and I said how pleased I am that today we have a Prime Minister who understands the plight of poor people. But the following day, after all of that is done, a Zelev of Flabo will write a letter undermining the work that we are doing in improving healthcare in this country.
There you have it, the NewsSpin hypocrite of the day, a female, Lisa Jawayer, Public Relations Officer of the governing St. Lucia Labour Party. And she was on the program, The Threesome, this morning right here on Power 97.9 FM. Let's continue with your calls at 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Again, 716-2026. And let us see if let's go a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon, you're on the air. Hello. Hello.
Good afternoon, Tiffy. How are you doing?
I'm okay, caller. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Amanda.
Good afternoon, caller.
Tiffy, it's my first time calling your show.
Thanks for calling.
And the reason I call your show is something that troubled me when I met a gentleman I know for many years. And these gentlemen I know have been trying to bring...
Hello? Okay, we seem to have lost the call.
Can you hear me, TP?
Yes, continue, sir.
Yes. So like I was saying, I met this gentleman. I know he tried to build some business in the island of St. Lucia.
Right.
Through some Canadian companies. It's a telecommunication company. And I met this gentleman on Saturday. And I said to him, hey, but when you're rolling out? And he said to me, boy, we're waiting on Ectel to give us spectrum. We got the license already and everything. Okay. And the gentleman told me 4 years, TP, they're waiting on Ectel to give them some spectrum for them to roll out for the people of St. Lucia to bring better service in the country or to compete with them other two providers that in St. Lucia, like, all of us crying out that, how them companies taking, And the gentleman tell me he have already written to the minister in regards to that. He wrote to the chairman of Ectel and them. But you say you're not blaming the people at NTRC, He even wrote to the chairman of NTRC and all of them things. I think was Mary Polius. And even the Miss Mary Polius telling him that she's writing to Ectel and Ectel ain't even responding back to them. You see? As a body, it's one body. So you cannot tell me the minister responsible for telecommunication. I think he was the chairman of the Ectel thing and them things at some time. You cannot tell me you don't know how many licenses that have been approved and how many companies have rolled out already and what is and so forth, And like he said to me, when they got that license approved, even the past administration take long to sign the license because when they pay the license, they sign the license for them in front of the election like they're doing them a favor. Now, I have to tell you it as it is, you see. Because when a company trying to bring better service and try and bring cheap service to the people of St. Lucia, and I know all the ministers listening to TP, because don't mind them, there's that little, what they call them thing, iPod in the air to wait when it's 12:30 to listen to you, And they just listen, and they're not understanding the plight of the people of the island of St. Lucia, You can't tell me 4 years a company trying like y'all and one no other company to come in the island to bring service to the people of St. Lucia. I tell the gentleman you have to make calls to, and see how them people can hear his voice. Because 4 years, TP a license approved, and to give the people spectrum to just roll out in the country. You're taking so long to give the people that, that man there, what's his name? David Cox. I know that man used to be Cable Wireless, but I used to work with Cable Wireless. So all them people, I just feel to myself that there's block other investors from coming in the country and make better for the people of St. Lucia. You see? Because when them people
it might be more complicated than that. So until we hear from those individuals, your NTRC and your ECTEL, I don't want to cast any aspersion because in the absence of facts, I think sometimes we can get it wrong. Continue.
Yes, I agree with you, okay? But you have to understand that also, TP. If it's 4 years, you cannot tell me they're getting it wrong. And to get a license, TP, for you to get approved of a license, the spectrum have to be approved also because it is part of the points mechanism. And if when you send in your frequency application, TP, with the application, and you find that the technical part is not good, they will not approve the license for you in general. So they know the technology the people bringing in. And that is the only why the license was approved. Why delaying the people from giving them the spectrum now for them to roll out to give better service? I would say better service because the people all in Canada, all over in Africa and them places. And like the man tell me already, if it wasn't for St. Lucia, which is his country, he would go to another island and bring the service because other countries know about their services. But it's time them government officials and them business people inside of ECTEL and them places look into those things and give the people the spectrum for the people to come and compete with them other providers that taking advantage of us every single day, TP. Every single day, our internet, only buffering, dropping when they want, all of them kind of things. So TP, I just saying to you, when the gentleman told me that, I just said I would make the call to you as a first-time caller because that really upsetting me to know 4 years, a license approved, okay, for a telecommunication company to come and provide better service in the island of St. Lucia and compete with them other major providers, and you refuse to give the people the spectrum to roll out and make an impact in the telecommunication sector in St. Lucia, where it's a free trade, I forget the free thing now. And again, that EC bill, the electronic communication bill, St. Lucia will not pass that in a hurry. You know why? Because they're afraid. Because there are certain clauses in the EC bill, TP, that if you see what that gentleman was going through right now, that they don't act upon it, the gentleman can take them to task. That is why you find Grenada, St. Vincent, and St. Kitts already passed it. But you see St. Lucia and Dominica, they would not want to pass that because they're afraid people take them to task. And not now they should be sending that EC bill to Parliament to pass that EC bill, but only talking about it. The EC bill is a good bill for the ECTEL Islands, and you're like passing the EC bill, Anyway, TP, thank you. That really getting me mad, man, to know that.
All right.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much. The unfortunate thing is when, issues of that nature surfaces, you do not hear from the relevant authorities. So, before we conclude our broadcast today, or by tomorrow, later this week, we should have gotten a response to these allegations that are being made by the previous caller, whether it's coming from ECTEL, the NTRC, or the ministry with responsibility for telecommunications, because this is not the first time I've been hearing people calling on that particular subject matter. I think maybe this is the third or fourth occasion I've received a call on that particular issue. But sometimes the authorities do not believe that they owe you any kind of explanation, and that's primarily because you do not demand explanations. We have another call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. NewsSpin, you are on the air.
Hello, good afternoon, Tim.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to you, caller.
You played a clip earlier on with Richard Frederick speaking about a meeting with the hospital persons, right?
Medical fraternity, yeah.
Yes. How long ago?
That comment was made by Mr. Frederick, I think, a year ago now.
Tim, but has the conditions changed after this meeting?
I don't know.
Has anything improved?
You tell me, I don't know. Maybe other people can tell me.
I can tell you, I can tell you for certain that it has lessened and it has gotten worse. So even, you see, a lot of times the Prime Minister and his ministers come and speak about going to a meeting with the persons where we have problems or the entities that we have problems. And they say because they have a meeting will address or will let you know the situations. But as to how you're going to react towards whatever is the problems in those areas would determine the outcome of it. The Prime Minister has always been speaking, and even for a man who cannot even speak, he has always been speaking and no action. And that's the problem with the Labour Party. A lot of talk and no action behind it. Timothy, we are fed up and we are tired of that attitude. You speak about healthcare, a lot of talk and nothing behind it. You speak about the police force, a lot of talk and no action behind it. The Prime Minister came and talked about a $500 bonus he gave to civil servants, and that was so much of a big hoorah. Tim, we have something facing us there with America. America is putting tariffs on us. Our citizenry is losing their visas or the access to America. We have a lot of speculators out there. We have a lot of persons doing business. Sometimes they have to go to Jamaica, but they have to go to the US to go to Jamaica. Tim, and our Prime Minister has not come out and said a word, but he'll come out on a platform where he always comes out and tell people, but Tim, I don't listen to SLPP business because I don't support SLP. How would I know what the government has done? So I need to listen to NewsSpin for NewsSpin to play that clip for me to hear it. Tim, I am a St. Lucian and I live in St. Lucia. I've spent all my years in St. Lucia. I need to know what my government is doing to ensure that I have a better livelihood and things are happening for me in this country. And I'm not the only one, we all. So when you go and address your SLP people, you speak into your kind. And so they will understand what you're saying. Whether you say no, you say yes, they'll agree with you because they support you. But for those who don't support you, how do you get that message across? You're afraid that we're going to criticize what you say. So you go in a dark, secret hole and you're going to speak and believe that, boy, we cannot address it or we cannot say nothing to it because we'll never hear it. But Tim, you think that's the way our country is to be run? Tim, I'm saying to people in St. Lucia, we need to stop the government. We need to stop allowing the government to take us for a ride because that's exactly what they're doing to us. They're taking us for a ride, protecting their victory. What victory? You barely won an election. That's what you want to protect? Don't worry about how many people voted for you. You are in the driver's seat now. You need to work to maintain the driver's seat. Not about doing things for your supporters. Let me show you an example. I'm from Babono, Tim. So I watch in Babono after Ezekiel left. The projects that are being done in Babono. I can count all of them and tell you what they are. In front of the Babono Multipurpose Center, the government did 10 contracts of small contractors, 10 contracts. And when you look at the work that was done there, Tim, if you were to measure and to put a price based on the work that was done there, one contractor could have done everything that was there in about 3 weeks. And they had 10 contractors working there. Then they put a sidewalk on the opposite side of the police station. 3 contractors on that project. You have another sidewalk on the other side of Tim. I'm saying, Tim, is that how taxpayers' monies will be spent on the island and for us to feel comfortable and say, yes, we have a government representing us? Tim, I cannot wait for elections for me to hear what they are going to come to say to defend the works that they have not done on the island. Tim, I thank you for the opportunity. But
you're wrong when you said that the SLP barely won the last general election. You are absolutely wrong.
When I say barely, what I'm saying is they won by a scratch. They won by a scratch.
Caller.
So there's no seat. Hold on.
If they won a seat, if they won one of the seats by 2 votes, it's a victory. They won it fair and square. Yes, I don't know about fair and square, but they won.
That's why I said
they won
because if they won, I'm not saying that they did not win, Tim. I'm saying there are no numbers to say that I won handsomely or pretty. Babono seat was won by 110 votes. If that they had a recount with 320 spoiled votes, you know that could have turned around easily. And thank God they did not have a recount because the minister would not have been a minister today. She would have been outside watching just like I'm watching from outside. So I'm saying, Tim, the seats were not won so great that you can say, I won with a majority over 500 in every constituency. No, it was very close. So you have to come out and work to maintain your seats and to say, yes, I won so good that even if I lose 500 votes, I'll still win in the other elections. But that's not the case, Tim. That is not the case.
But I still disagree with you, sir. I still disagree with you. With that kind of victory, nah. That's a significant
All right,
majority.
So I will tell you today. I will tell you today.
Uh.
You and I will have a conversation after the other election, and you will tell me, well, these are the areas I saw where whichever political party got a direct beating, because the numbers are going to be greater this elections, because a lot of persons who did not come out and vote last elections, they're going to come out and vote this elections.
All
and
right.
I cannot say that they're going to vote for this side or that side, but they're going to come out and vote, because a lot of people last elections, especially in Babuno, told you, Ezekiel had win that already, man, I ain't going and vote. And so a lot of his supporters did not come out and vote on elections day. We will see that turn around this elections, team, and I guarantee you that's going to happen in this elections. I will not say who's going to win, because I know you don't want to say you will call me Guardia tomorrow, but I'll tell you that we will have a high number of persons coming out and vote.
Okay, caller. Thank you so much. Thank you. But the numbers don't lie. The SLP won 3 seats, 2 so-called independents won 2, and the United Workers' Party won the other 2 seats. So we have a development apparently happening in Soufrière, and a complaint has been issued by the United Workers' Party candidate for that constituency, that's Soufrière Francais Jacques, and that is Mr. Herod Stanislas, just sent me this statement moments ago.
On Monday, April 7, 2025, I witnessed a clear display of vindictiveness and maliciousness from the St. Lucia Labour Party Soufrière Francais Jacques constituency group. This occurred just 1 day after I, the endorsed candidate for the United Workers' Party Soufrière Francais Jacques constituency in the upcoming general elections, commissioned my campaign office. The SLP operatives took it upon themselves to remove all the yellow flags that the Soufrière Francais Jacques United Workers' Party branch had installed the previous Saturday within the town circuit. It is painfully obvious to me that the leadership of the St. Lucia Labour Party endorsed this action, especially since the St. Lucia Labour Party Soufrière constituency branch chairman, Mr. John William, personally led the flag removal operation with his own vehicle. I believe this is not an isolated incident, as I recall the vandalism that occurred in the aftermath of the July 26, 2021 general elections. At that time, the leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party and Prime Minister encouraged supporters to protect their victory and confront the United Workers' Party, reminding us that we had lost. I think such rhetoric only stokes animosity, and this latest act of aggression is nothing more than unwarranted viciousness, adding to the already overwhelming daily criminal activities plaguing our nation. As a member of the United Workers' Party, I firmly believe in one of our core values, respect. Over the past 4 years, the Soufrière Labour Party constituency group has installed flags around the constituency for anniversaries and other functions without interference from United Workers' Party supporters. Our supporters never once touched the fading red flags. I believe we understand and respect the law. As the endorsed United Workers' Party candidate, I call on Honorable Emma Hypocrite to condemn this action by her operatives, including branch chairman Mr. John Williams. I believe vandalizing the paraphernalia of an opposing party is not only illegal, but it also goes against the ethics of political campaigning. Therefore, I urge Prime Minister and leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party, Honorable Philippe J. to address this situation before his scheduled visit to the town hall meeting in Soufrière at the bus terminal, a project conceptualized and constructed under my tenure. I asked him to instruct his supporters to immediately reinstall the flags that were taken down and discarded in the yard of my campaign office. Mr. Philippe J. as Prime Minister of St. Lucia, I believe you must demonstrate respect for democracy and peace. If you fail to address this issue promptly, it will only confirm your disregard for the citizens of St. Lucia, regardless of their class, color, creed, or political affiliation. I hope you will take the necessary steps to resolve this matter and promote a peaceful and respectful electoral process. I thank you.
Just heard there from the United Workers' Party candidate for Soufrière Fonse Jacques, Mr. Harold Stanislas, making an allegation that apparently operatives of the St. Lucia Labour Party in that constituency, what they have done is to remove his flags, which were erected just before the official opening of his constituency office over the weekend. We have another call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. NewsSpin, you're on the air.
Yeah, give me what's up.
I'm okay, caller. Good afternoon to you.
Yeah. Amanda, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, caller.
Maybe we St. Lucians are taking this 10% tariff from the United States very lightly. And everybody, especially the authorities, are handling it in a lackadaisical attitude. Maybe we fail to realize that 7 of our most prestigious manufacturers in St. Lucia rank very highly on the American market. And I named them Baron Foods,
Yeah.
Viking Traders, Heineken St. Lucia, Harry Spain, Caribbean Awnings, St. Lucia Distillers, and Caribbean Metals. Tim, can you visualize or imagine what's going to happen when these tariffs hit those companies? What's going to happen in St. Lucia? Can you?
Will become less competitive in terms of the prices that will be imposed on those items in the United States, because the cost would have to be passed on to the consumers there.
Yes. And Tim, Baron rank highly both in the American, European, and United Kingdom markets, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It is our cheap brand. So if we're going to take it lightly, then we shall have a lot to lose. So we cannot take that lightly. I've heard in certain areas people saying, oh, it's only 10%. But on the bigger scheme of things, it is a lot of problems for St. Lucia. And I see doom. I'm not a prophet of doom and gloom, but I can see a lot of doom emerging on the horizon. Okay, then?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Take good care.
Thank you so much for calling, sir. We have another call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. I think it's Mr. Harold Stanislas. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm okay, Mr. Stanislas. Good afternoon to you.
Yes. I'm very happy that you were able to play the statement which I released this morning on this matter in Soufrière.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter that we should not take lightly. This is very, very serious. We've just started the electoral process. And for operatives and supporters of the Labour Party to be going around mischievously putting down flags which were erected on Saturday evening before the opening of my campaign office is very, very serious. And we must be very vigilant, and we must all condemn such despicable behavior. And I'm calling again on the parliamentary representative to condemn her supporters and ensure that such behavior, such actions are not repeated again during this political season and beyond, Tim.
You have any evidence of this being carried out by operatives of the St. Lucia Labour Party, as you claimed early on in your statement?
Yes, I have many witnesses who saw them going around in the vehicle with the ladder, climbing on the poles, removing the flags, putting their own. And what was more disturbing, Tim, was that after they did so, they took a good portion of the flags and they dumped them in my campaign office yard. So that shows you the mischief. It was deliberate, calculating by those operatives of the Labour Party.
So this would have occurred at what time of the day?
It occurred last night at between 10:40 p.m. and about 11 o'clock p.m. last night.
Okay. So far, have you made any reports to the police regarding this?
Yes, I did. I did make a formal report to the police afternoon.
Yeah.
The police have promised me to investigate the matter and get to those individuals and also the parliamentary representative regarding the actions of those persons.
In your experience, is this unprecedented?
Very unprecedented, Tim. I don't recall. I think the last time such incident of political mischief took place in Soufrière was in the 1997 campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, we've not seen such actions by either side in Soufrière, especially the United Workers' Party side. We have always been a very peaceful, very quiet people, and we do not engage in political aggression, political violence at all.
For you, is this a sign of what is to happen? Do you fear that the situation can worsen if not properly handled?
Exactly, and this is the reason why I went to the police and made a formal complaint, because I believe that they are reacting on fear, and if they are not forewarned very early by the authorities, this may lead to more physical harm between supporters of both parties, especially when paraphernalias have been placed around the constituency.
Do you think that should prompt the authorities, the St. Lucia Christian Council, etc., to intervene so that you have a code of conduct to guide the actions and the behavior of politicians who are getting all set for this general election, as well as their supporters?
Definitely. I mean, it must take a collaborative effort by all civic groups in the country, the churches, the Christian Coalition, as you have mentioned, but more so on the individual political parties. I believe the leadership of both parties ought to explain and reiterate on a weekly basis, especially when we hit the platform, that supporters and members should refrain from any form of political violence and any form of action like what we witnessed last night in Soufrière, so that we can have a very peaceful political campaign, a peaceful process during this coming election.
Regarding the flags, are you hoping to re-erect them?
Well, I have called on the parliamentary representative to condemn it, and also the Prime Minister to instruct their supporters to go back and erect those flags. And if they don't, later this week, I am going to have my supporters to erect my flags back on the poles in the Soufrière circuit, the town circuit.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for calling the broadcast. You just heard there from the United Workers' Party candidate for Soufrière for Saint-Jacques. That is his version of events. No doubt, this is the most monitored talk show in the world. Here's hoping that we can hear from the MP for that constituency, who is also the Commerce Minister, Miss Emma Hypocrite, and officials of the governing St. Lucia Labour Party, because we want to create some balance. We want to get the perspective of the opposing side. What's happening in the chat room? Amanda.
Tim and NewsSpinner says here, I concur with your statement. However, are negotiations being done independently or as a CARICOM block? This may be the case, but still he is to say so and address us in any regard. Now the comment reads, it's a miracle he didn't say it's the fault of the leader of the opposition that caused the Trump to impose the tariffs. A NewsSpinner says here, what is wrong with this woman? She always wants an apology from the UWPs, but when her supporters disrespect the citizens of this country, she takes mumu tablets. Now the comment reads, my fellow St. Lucians, it seems like you are on your own. The Prime Minister seems to have thrown back the responsibility on St. Lucians to take care of themselves without any support from the government. Someone says here, Tim, you will never hear from the relevant authorities. They have not responded in years. Why would they respond now? Another comment reads, we have breaking news at this time. CIP consultancy RIF Trust has been blacklisted in St. Kitts and Nevis. The CEO of the RIF Trust, a St. Lucian citizen who got his citizenship through CIP and is an authorized agent of the Citizenship by Investment Program in St. Lucia. A NewsSpinner says with the flags and bunting hanging all over the town. Let's take that again. With the flags and bunting hanging all over the town. If so, it is a misstep of the UWP to hang the flags all over the town circuit. It can be interpreted as a takeover or invasion by one political party. No political party should do this. Keep your flags within the perimeter of your office or at the homes of individual supporters who wish to publicly declare their political allegiance. No party flag should be reinstalled. Keep the town area for national emblems. Another comment reads, do you seriously think the police will do anything? Someone says this task force. Okay, no, back to you, Tim.
Thank you so much for that update. Still to come on the broadcast. Somebody says St. Lucia needs Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre. This is the most monitored talk show in the world.
Lucilec's remote options are available to serve you every weekday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. Call or send a WhatsApp message to 285-6796, 285-7859, 285-3593, or send an email to customersupport@lucilec.com for assistance. Lucilec encourages you to use the available options for doing business with us remotely.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Here's a fun fact. In just 29 seconds, you can say goodbye to paper bills forever. Seriously, in 29 seconds. That's less time than this ad. Head over to discoverflow.co or visit us in-store and update your contact information now. By October 1st, your bills will be digital, easy to access, secure, and hassle-free. So what are you waiting for? This ad still has 2 seconds left, and you could have already gone paperless.
St. Lucia, KFC has the crunch with our all-new strips and dip. 3 crispy, golden brown chicken strips, hot fries, a buttery biscuit, a refreshing 16-ounce Coca-Cola, all for $25. Hurry to KFC and dive into the dip life today.
Dip, dip, and dip. Your chicken strips sing no dip, 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 and dip. Barbecue buffalo dip, ranch, honey mustard dip. KFC got all dips.
Order now at kfcslu.com or WhatsApp 484-0400. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Stop. How much more pain can you take? Back pain, blinding headaches, numbness, weak knees, spinal injuries, stroke. You've tried everything. Nothing works. Enough. La Clinique du Corps has the experts and technology to diagnose and fix the problem permanently. Our specialist doctors use cutting-edge solutions to treat back pain, knee pain, sciatica, stroke recovery, spinal injuries, arthritis, heel pain, and more. With advanced pain management techniques, we provide fast, effective relief so you can live pain-free. La Clinique du Corps is an approved universal healthcare service provider in St. Lucia, accepting all approved insurance. Take back your life. Call La Clinique du Corps right now at 451-6559 to book your appointment. Pain stops here.
Need more days of savings? MNC Home Depot and Sunbelt Super Saturday of Savings has just been extended to Sunday. Take advantage of amazing deals. This weekend, MNC Home Depot and Sunbelt are offering you amazing discounts on selected items. MNC Home Depot and Sunbelt Super Saturday of Savings has been extended to Sunday. Don't miss out on the incredible discounts and deals. See in-store, Facebook, or www.mnchomedepot.com for more details. Terms and conditions may apply. better value for better.
Taco Thursdays at Senior Snapper from Thursday, 13th February 2025 and every Thursday.
St. Lucia, your Thursdays just got a whole lot better. After work, there's only one place to be. Taco Thursdays at Senor Snapper Seafood Grill and Margarita Bar.
In Cruisley Town, that is Marie Therese Street.
Live DJ, fresh tacos, and island vibes. What more do you need? Tacos for just $10 plus 2-for-1 margaritas and mojitos to keep the good times flowing.
Thursdays is Taco Thursdays at Senor Snapper.
On Easter Sunday, when the sun rises in the west, so will the vibes. Rise 5 in Citrus. Rise 5 in Citrus. April 20th, Soufre Mini Stadium. From 3 p.m. featuring Imran Nerdy, Arthur, Shemi J, DYP, plus St. Lucia's biggest DJs. Plus, Soca Sensation, Hyper Sounds. Hyper Sounds. Voice of the one, Hyper Sound. Tickets are $120, available at all Sell Outlets, Mambo's Bar in Soufre, and online at fourcircletickets.com. More at the door. Platinum sponsor, Court St. Lucia. Gold sponsors, Bank of St. Lucia, Hotel Chocolat, Hennessy, Bounty Rum, JP Chenet, and KFC. Bronze sponsor, Heineken, Power 97.9 FM. Media sponsor, Liberty Media. Rise 5 in Citrus. On Easter Sunday, we rise.
Also sponsored by Blue Waters and Angostura Chill.
Mamai Soufouye, Forsajac, are you ready? All roads lead to the constituency of Soufre Forsajac for the St. Lucia Labour Party's Town Hall Tuesday on April 8th from 6:30 p.m. at the Vendors Plaza and Bus Terminal in Soufre. Come, hear from your parliamentary representative, Honorable Emma Hippolyte, other MPs, and of course, your political leader and Prime Minister, Honorable Philip J. Pierre. Get ready, Labour Party Town Hall Tuesday is taking you to the constituency of Soufre Forsajac on April 8th from 6:30 p.m. at the Vendors Plaza and Bus Terminal in Soufre. Let's move forward together for more progress. See you there.
And look out for me, Soufre. I will be attending this Town Hall Tuesday later today. Look out for me. I'll be there in my red colors. This is the most monitored talk show in the world. It's called NewsSpin on Power 97.9 FM. We are also on the NewsSpin Facebook page as well as the NewsSpin YouTube channel. We continue with your calls and WhatsApp messages and, of course, the discussions in the chat room. We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello.
Yeah, hi, Tim.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, Tim, did you hear anything from the government task force that's supposed to be responsible for this whole tariff thing, that's supposed to give us some kind of answers?
I have not heard anything. I think they might have presented whatever information they have or recommendations to the Cabinet of Ministers. And maybe by today or later this week we'll be hearing from them. But so far I've not heard anything at all.
Well, you know, Tim, they actually insinuating, because I don't think there's going to be anything comprehensive out of these discussions, because Miss Hippolyte already said that we should hope in the Lord. I don't know which Lord. And she also mentioned something about tightening our belts, as in the citizenry.
Yeah.
What did the Prime Minister speak about? We have to grow our own. He's calling on citizens, not a government revolution of growing and being independent, so to speak, and depending on our own. But he wants us individually to do that. So what is the government there for if they cannot come in and step in to cushion the blow? What are they there for? Because at the end of the day, Tim, the people that are going to be affected by these tariffs are not the government ministers and the permanent secretaries and the prime ministers and all of these people that have that cushion already. But yet still, they're asking us, the people that they depend on for the taxes in a parasitical way. They tax us so that they can have their own lot in life, so to speak. If we cannot see any kind of, how should I put it, guidance and direction from this leadership, and I don't think the other leadership is anything better, why we as a people cannot see this, because we are experiencing this whole situation. We are going to be feeling the brunt of this. So at the end of the day, if we continue to want to pay our taxes to these people so that they can enjoy this life and be cushioned, but we the ones that are going to be feeling this, we have to make up our minds, and not just to plant, but to sow seeds for the future. Because if we don't do that, our future, our progeny is going to suffer. And at the end of the day, I think Mia Motley was insinuating something about the Caribbean should approach the Americans in the highest possible office, so to speak. When Marco Rubio came, he came and he smiled for us, shook our hands, and he told us nice things. But when he went back, what did he do? He slapped us with tariffs. So at the end of the day, we can't keep on turning, once again, I'll say this, to the colonial north and expecting them to do anything different, because their strategy is not for us to be independent. It's for us to be dependent on them. Good afternoon, Tim.
Same to you, sir. 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages. 716-2026. 716-2026. Still to come, somebody says St. Lucia needs Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre. We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you. You are on the air.
Tim, it's getting to the point where we're going to have to book in advance to get through to you.
We might, and it might come at a cost as well, a fee. $5 a call.
At least some dashing.
$5 a call. $5. That's the tariff, eh? $5 US per call.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me ask you, Tim. I heard somebody say earlier on, but before I get to that, in case I forget, your last caller said something we have to sow seeds, right?
Yes.
For the future or something. How would you say that in Creole?
Planter Gwen.
Pardon me?
Un pour planter Gwen.
Not Sime?
Beg your pardon, not what?
Sime Gwen.
Oh, Sime. Okay. All right, so you can say it could go either way, Sime Gwen or planter Gwen.
No.
Okay.
Because you have to spread all over the place.
No, but he said plant seeds. So planter.
Yeah, but I would have.
Or you could spread, yes, spread the seeds. Sime Gwen, yes.
and it's ironic that good advice like that ends up being Sime Gwen.
Yeah.
Because, Tim, it's so difficult to look at us, to look at ourselves in the mirror and feel any kind of pride, That's what we lack in ourselves. A while ago, well, when is Carnival, Tim? I'm not very good in that.
Carnival is in July.
In July?
Yeah.
Jazz is when?
Jazz is in May.
All right.
And I remember,
how much,
sorry about that, don't forget what you were about to say. I remember at one time I approached then Prime Minister John Compton, and I posed a particular question to him. And then he asked me the same question. Tim, when is Carnival? And I said Carnival is in February. And he advised me to pose that same question to him in February, because that was a willy-nilly question. Go ahead, Rick.
willy-nilly, that's his word.
Yes.
But I'm not on any willy-nilly wicket. Do you have a clue, at least a clue, of how much the government is going to invest in Carnival and Jazz?
No, I don't.
What was the fete we just had? We just had one, didn't we? A big one?
What was that?
A few months back?
A big fete?
All right, anyway.
Yeah, I can't recall.
But roughly how much you think government will invest in Carnival and Jazz?
Yeah, obviously it'll be in the millions. I mean, to market, to bring in, yeah, millions. To bring in the various artists and so on.
Now, how long do you think now we've been talking to people, we've been throwing the slogan around, eat what you grow and grow what you eat. I think it was the correct thing.
Dating back to, let's say, more than 20 years, Compton era, the likes of the likes of Ira Dovine as agriculture minister.
Obviously, we're not doing that, right?
No, we're not.
Now, shouldn't we know why it is we're not doing that?
It's because of our taste buds, because of what we've been exposed to by way of the media, what we see on television being advertised in North America, because there's globalization and we travel very often. And
there are a lot of reasons we could think of why we're not growing our own food. Okay, and we're eating junk instead. That makes us sick, lands us in hospitals that cannot accommodate us, and all that. It's a vicious circle. So, when the Prime Minister repeats about the eat what you grow and grow what you eat thing, there's nothing wrong with that per se. You know?
Yeah, but I think he's just being too simplistic, sir.
It's what?
He's being simplistic when he says that.
No, the point is, it's been said 100 times before, without results. So it would seem to me that if you want people to encourage agriculture, even in well, forget the home agriculture. I don't know how many people have enough land in St. Lucia although we used to do it in the old days. And even in the old days, I'm talking about my boyhood and so on, Tim, it was only certain things we took care of. It's better than nothing, but we had peas, we had pawpaw, we had sugar apple. Some of us had a little thing to plant some potatoes and whatever. So I am not knocking that. But we have moved into very, very deep waters now when the chances are we won't get the food because we live on imported food, really. We won't get it. And we are disinclined to do any agriculture on any kind of scale. The government itself, how much money do you think the government is putting into agriculture versus tourism?
Of course, they're putting more into tourism. I think for agriculture would have been this year maybe about $30-odd million for agriculture.
And tourism?
Tourism is a lot more, maybe close to even above 50 million.
So you know where the government's head is by where it puts its money.
Yeah.
And it would seem to me from all the talk we hear in the House every now and again that when we do talk about agriculture, it's more or less one product anyway, but it's always in terms of export. When was the last time you heard a minister of agriculture, the one right now in particular, and by the way, does he have a background in agriculture or a significant background in agriculture?
He used to be the chief forestry officer.
Chief forestry officer.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make him not even begin to make him a participant in a real significant participant in agriculture.
I don't know if that matters because Mr. Cassius Elias...
Well, it matters. Don't forget the Prime Minister mentioned about being a policeman.
Yes. But
so
Mr. Cassius Elias served as agriculture minister. I don't think he has a serious background in agriculture, you know.
But agriculture in our country has never really taken off, Tim. This is what we play games with. There was a time when Sufra produced much of the food we ate in this country, but that's not because we were into agriculture. It's because Sufra people planted. Eh?
The state would have played a significant role in providing the technical expertise to the farmers. That plays a significant role. I mean,
what I'm saying
when
right
you
now
have
is,
to control things like various pests, invasive species, and things of that nature.
Well, I remember when Compton banned importation of peanut to encourage a peanut producer in Sufra, and that didn't last very long because people just went buying it. It was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went back to it. But I'm saying, how much effort have we really put into the lip service, behind the lip service of agriculture in terms of food security? Because that must have governmental input. And as I say that to you, I am reminded of the millions that the Taiwanese have put into agriculture. And not just agriculture. I think I asked you that last week. If we were to start figuring out the millions that the Taiwanese have put in there, and to see what we have to show for those millions, I think it'd be very, very surprising, Tim. I don't know that the Taiwanese have had any impact, significant impact whatsoever on, obviously, food security.
And
when you go to the market,
and you attribute this to what?
That it needs more than we're doing. All the things, we pay a lot of lip service, but we really are not into food security. We're not into it because people shouldn't have to pay more to go buy a potato in the market. Because I understand it costs more at the market than at the supermarket. Would I be correct?
Yes, it's cheaper in the supermarket.
Well, that's the point. There's got to be a reason why. There's got to be a reason why it's cheaper to buy a potato in the supermarket than here. And there's also the encouragement of the government. We live in a free country, I agree, that the supermarkets are full of sickness-producing food, Tim. We don't even have any kind of guarantees that the Bureau of Standards is checking out what's on those food shelves, checking the chemicals, checking out the chemicals that are banned elsewhere and being dumped on third world and hungry countries like ours. The people who import those things, things that are about to be dumped, they do that, They go and buy those things from Miami and come out here. I heard you tell a guy a while ago, and I don't blame you because it's a season as well, but he wasn't speaking about anyone in particular. He was talking about a government department, and you said to him, well, we don't have any evidence of that. Oh, it was the radio thing, license thing.
Yeah.
But you know, and I know, and everybody knows, that the governments are very, very discriminating in who they're allowed to have licenses for communication in this country. And that's been going on for a while. It's probably worse now than ever. You know that.
Yes.
They can't wait to close down stations. They can't, and they determine who they put on the boards controlling who will get a license. And this being a small town, we know who those people are and where their love lies. We know all that. We know who are likely to get a radio license. And if you were applying for one, I can guarantee you won't get it. Because that's one way of keeping you off the airwaves. And if somebody who's anti-UWP, because I had a lot of trouble, by the way, under a UWP regime, a long time ago. So I know that's how the politicians work, and that's how we, the people, encourage them to work. Because we, the people, encourage these politicians not to give licenses to certain people. Or you read on Facebook, or you hear them calling, why don't they take so-and-so's license? Or why don't they sue this guy out of business? Am I right?
Because they say this guy is not one of us. As if you're some
kind of
alien.
No, we don't realize that all these moves are counterproductive to everybody. Everybody. I want to say one more thing, Jim. Two more things. Somebody sent me a note and said that they were sending it to you as well on the racism that is overwhelming this election campaign, and something has to be done about it. And he sent it to you. She was afraid you might not read it, but in any event, my answer to her was, what's the point in Tim reading something or me talking about it when what is required is a mass resentment, a show of mass resentment against racism. But no, at least half the country is silent. Well, more than half the country. But at least at least half of the country is deliberately and calculatedly silent about any kind of racism or vicious stuff against women. It goes on. It goes on. Women should be given medals who have the courage to go into politics in St. Lucia right now, Because your titties will be talked about, your butt will be talked about, how many men you've been with, and there will be no comment from any source that matters. Not even the hellbound priests. Not even them. You hear about OK and all kinds of stuff from Father Albert and his clique. You don't hear any serious talk about the horrors of racism, about Hitler, what happened to the Jews, about the black people, the people who uphold because of racism from Africa, that we still hear we are paying the price for slavery. All that's racism, you know. All of that is racism. So where are all the erudite, eloquent talkers who tell you all about all the effects of slavery 400 years ago, but they're not addressing the cause of slavery, the hatred that makes one race enslave another. They're not talking about it, and it's happening here in the most important places. It's on our airwaves, it's in our parliament, it's on our platforms, it's everywhere. It's also in our schools, if only by chance, collateral. If our children are being taught one way, it's like second, how you call the smoking thing? When you smoke in a room, second what?
Second-hand smoke.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's like second-hand lessons to our young kids who, if they are taught by example, that a guy who's lighter than they are is automatically thinks he's more important than you, and you must treat him badly because you don't want him to think all the no-brain crap of racism. It is taking a hold of this country, Tim. It is also going to chase away all those bright young kids who may be of mixed race because their parents went to white countries to make a living, and a lot of them have white kids. And some of those kids are very bright, and within them may have, because one thing those kids have, I speak from experience, they have a love, they're excited by the notion of the island and where they come from, and they're really into that, you know, almost a tourist brochure love. They want to come back. These guys, some of them have good jobs overseas, and they're ready to take a chance if they think it's viable.
And they're invited to return to St. Lucia, the land of the birth of their parents and so on, to contribute. If I suspect it does not entail them entering the political arena and being a threat to the individuals who are in office at the time. But before we go on, Rick, let me ask you a question. Let me put you on the spot. Somebody says, and I'll play the clip in just a moment. Somebody says St. Lucia needs Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre. Whenever somebody say...
but did the person say why?
The person did not say why. I think the person's made reference to, in terms of his leadership, in terms of economic growth, and so on. But I do not like to hear anybody say that St. Lucia or the people need a particular individual because he's Prime Minister and so on. As if he comes like some messiah. All right?
Well...
Hold on, Rick. If the Prime Minister of St. Lucia were to depart this earth today, tomorrow, etc., somebody else will replace him. The same for Alan Chasney as leader of the opposition. So I don't know what gives anybody that right, that God-given right, or you have that special talent that is so rare that the people who are in the majority, they need you.
I don't see it like that. I see free speech being, I'm so into free expression. So if the person wants to see Philip Pierre as a great Prime Minister, and I don't know what is a great Prime Minister, because the great Prime Minister to you may not necessarily be a great Prime Minister to the other guy, especially when we have such discrimination between parties, hatred between parties. So it is quite possible for Philip Pierre to be a master, a messiah almost, to somebody who is supportive of the Labour Party, but to somebody else, he's a devil himself. So I don't care about this freedom of speech talk, but I don't know what is a good Prime Minister or a bad Prime Minister. I really don't know what that is.
It was just a straight statement that St. Lucia needs Philip J. Pierre. St. Lucia
that's his point of view. Judge Odlum said something similar.
Yeah.
That is his point of view, and he's free to say so, and you can laugh if you want to, or the guy might really believe that. Perhaps he was victimized by a UWP administration sometime. I have been victimized by both parties.
Okay,
I just don't talk about it. I fight back. That is all. But what we push those parties. We the people push both the UWP and the SLP to be horrible. We want them to screw our neighbor. We want, and if the party in power is the party we voted for, we want them to shut everybody, including some of our kids who didn't vote. That is the culture. We know that, Tim. So we have to address that and not pretend that's not the case. We have hatred in one home of families, close relatives, blood siblings, and everything, simply because they vote for a different party. That is the ignorance of this place. I want to ask you if Trump had actually imposed a 14% tariff on us.
10%.
I thought, how much?
10%.
So what
on our exports? On our exports.
And what do we do about that, Jim?
There's nothing we can do about it. Anyway, Rick,
exactly.
we have to end it there. Thank you so much for your contribution. So this individual said that St. Lucia needs Philip J. Pierre.
And I'll tell you this. St. Lucia needs this man. We need him. And I'll tell you this. St. Lucia needs this man. We need him. And I'll tell you this. St. Lucia needs this man. We need him.
Just heard there from the MP for Castries Central, Mr. Richard Frederick, also local government minister, speaking on a Sunday during the opening of the library market. And he says that St. Lucia needs Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre. We have a call online via WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you on the air. Hello.
Good afternoon to you, Tim. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, ma'am. How about you?
Hi, can you hear me? Okay,
yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And I'm good. And good afternoon to you, Amanda.
Good
So,
afternoon,
Tim,
Carl.
I was listening to your show, and I heard that clip you played with the Prime Minister in Library. Did I hear him correctly? Did he say to the nation that the way we can combat the 10% tariff is to plant food in our backyards?
Well, you heard the
Is that
statement.
what he said, please?
You heard the statement.
Tim, does the Prime Minister have any clear understanding of how tariffs work? Or is the Prime Minister simply trying to minimize the impact of this tariff? Now, let me tell you why I say that. First of all, the tariff is paid by the person importing the goods. So a 10% tariff on our goods will cause problems for us, but it will cause problems in the marketability of our goods and how competitive we are on the market. And that's one issue. But that is a snippet compared to what is going to happen, because as you know, the amount of goods that we export to the US is not that significant that it affects our economy in a great way.
Yeah.
But we do trade with other countries. Okay? If we look at this thing in terms of the tariff alone, then it is easy to say, well, this is only going to affect a select few of St. Lucians, so we don't need to bother with it. But if we do that, we are wrong. We need to look at this holistically. This tax or this tariff that Trump is going to put on the other countries and on ships with parts made in China, this is where Crapo will smoke our pipe. Because we have no idea where the ships that come into our harbor, where their parts were made. We don't make ship parts in St. Lucia. Okay? We do trade with the US. There is a burgeoning market burgeoning trade going on where people buy things on Amazon, on Shein, and from China and all of these places. A lot of the young people, that's where they shop because they feel that's where they get the cheaper prices. This is where this thing is going to hit us. And it's still not as bad as all the tariffs that were placed on the the other countries. And let me tell you why that is significant, Tim. Our economy is largely driven not by trade, not by commerce, but by tourism. What do you think is going to happen when Canada has tariffs? Canada puts, well, I noticed Trump took off Canada and Mexico and Russia, but the UK and those other countries, these people, the tariffs that they are going to place on American goods, because a lot of countries do a lot of trade with America, are going to increase the cost of living for their countries, for their citizens. And these citizens are the ones we depend on to have enough money to travel to St. Lucia and to enjoy our tourism product and our hospitality. And this is where we are going to be hit. This is where we are going to feel the brunt of the trade wars. Not with trade, because we don't do any significant amount of trade. This is going to affect people's ability to travel. And that is what we need to look out for. Now, I notice the Prime Minister is trying to cloud that and tell people about tourism. Let me tell you something. We are in for a rude awakening. I listened to Mia Motley. Tim, did you hear the address by Mia Motley?
Yes, we have it.
Yes, right. And when I listened to that address as the head of CARICOM, I am realizing that this lady has a understanding of what is going on. Okay? The Prime Minister, I feel, should go. But then again, I cannot fault him, because Emma Hippolyte just told us that the task force on the tariffs met and they have not reported to Parliament, to Cabinet. So I am assuming that the Prime Minister has not gotten his hands on that report and that he has not begun to make changes. But I will advise the Prime Minister to get his hands on that report quick, fast, and in a hurry, because they are depending on tourism. They are depending on jazz to bring in people, on carnival to bring in people, and all of that. That is where we are going to feel it in our pockets, because the tourism dollar will no longer be available to us. It will be a situation almost like COVID. And I don't want to be the harbinger of bad news, but I really hope that the St. Lucians listening out there will now have a clearer understanding of how we are going to be affected by these tariffs. Don't worry about the 10% tariff on our goods. That's not where the problem will come. Okay? It will come on the tax imposed on shipping, those who have Chinese parts, and a lot of St. Lucia, and a lot of those cruise ships. Do we know how many of them have Chinese parts or were made in China? We have no idea. This is where this thing is going to hit us, and this is more serious.
We're not talking about the cruise ships, the cargo ships, those that were constructed in China. And the tariff on them could range between 500,000 US and 1 million US.
And that is
whenever they enter the American ports.
And do you know that a lot of these cruise ships do home porting in Miami?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these cruise ships do home porting in Miami.
No, we're talking about container ships. The container ships, not the cruise ships.
They as well.
The container
they
ships.
As well.
Yeah,
they as well.
Mm.
Both of them will, I believe both of them will be impacted, Tim. Both of them will be impacted, the container ships and the cruise ships. And I also believe that if people's dollars cannot be stretched as far as they need them to stretch, because you don't travel on your income that you have to do things with. You travel on disposable income. And if the cost of living is higher, then you have less disposable income. And so you would be less inclined to travel. You will save your money for you to take care of your needs. Travel is not a need. It is a want. It is leisure. So I believe that is where the problem lies. And I think the Prime Minister needs to get serious, and he needs to address us properly and let us know. I know his is the party that ran on Fig Jam Morse tourism. I know his is the party that has spent more money in jazz and all of these things. And St. Lucians, open your eyes. Government spending is up. Taxes are up, and the Prime Minister is looking to raise more tax revenue. Now, most of our people are employed in the tourism industry and in the public service. When the tourism industry gets a hit, Crapo will definitely smoke our pipe. So these are the things we need to pay attention to. All of that smoke and mirrors, it makes no sense. We need to start taking a serious look on how we are going to be affected. Forget about the 10% tariffs. Let's see how this thing is going to affect our source markets for tourism and how it is going to affect our people's ability to travel. Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you so much for calling, ma'am. Still to come, you'll be hearing from an economist who has some advice for consumers in St. Lucia and indeed the rest of the Caribbean. Let's get a final update from you, Amanda. What's happening in the chat room?
A few comments from earlier. Someone says here, avoid doing things that would escalate into fierce political conflicts among supporters. St. Lucia is too small for that. Now the comment reads, all political leaders need to make clear statements condemning this behavior. Violence and mischief should not be tolerated in elections or election campaigning. A NewsSpinner says UWPs are Arawaks and SLPs are Caribs. Now the comment reads, what bothers me is that these are old grown men doing this nonsense. The younger generation doesn't even care about politics. Someone says they prevent issues from the start of small mischievous issues before it gets worse. I agree with Harold. Another comment here says, go educate yourself on the imposed tariffs and do not wait for the government. The US president has made his decision and we all can't run away from it, but live with it for his 4-year term in office. A NewsSpinner says, so now the government is expected to step in and plant gardens for St. Lucians. Another comment reads, the assigned Minister of Agriculture should have a background in the field, not only academically, but real practical experience. Someone says there the feeder roads to the farms are government's responsibility and they are currently non-existent. And the comment in the chat room here says, last year there was a 17% decline in the agricultural sector. This year they have reduced on the budget for agriculture. That's all the comments I can access now. Back to you, Tim.
Thank you so much, Amanda. We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You are on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tim. Mr. Tim, thanks for taking my call. Mr. Tim, I remember I gave you the first time talking about agriculture. I remember when the United Workers' Party was in office. Mr. Guy Joseph in a budget speech was talking to Sean Edwards saying, I don't have nothing such as minister's account. He was talking to Sean Edwards when he was in government. And I remember Ernest Hille on a point of order said that there is nothing such as Minister of Agriculture. So my people get it right. I know for sure there is nothing such as Minister of Account, but I know there is Minister of Agriculture. And I hearing again they take out $6 million on agriculture. Would have taken out the same Labour Party. So if they're not supporting agriculture, what do you expect from them? And another one again, I just heard you play a clip. The MP for Central Castries is saying that we need Philip Jake here. We need him. MP, you have it wrong. If you need him in your benefit and your favor, fine. I remember MP Central Castries in a budget speech. You said that Alan Shasta should not take out the 2.5% on the VAT. It costs the country millions of dollars. Now, if you have the heart to say that in a budget speech, and the poor people that put the Prime Minister in office, you're still crying and begging to keep him, and we need him. We don't need him. You need him because you benefiting from him. And another one again is two people I heard that preach more racism. I remember when the Mr. Alan Shastner was opening the horse race in Beaufort. I remember that same MP had Alan Shastner in the middle and two black men on the side have two things in their neck. You know what I'm saying? And another lady in the same SLP party was saying, we don't need Shasni. Shasni is a white man. We don't need him. I could forgive the lady, but the MP, I cannot forgive him. You know why? You're an educated man. You pass lawyer. You know, you in government. So you should know better. So my people, I'm calling on you. Even those people who is doctor, who is lawyer and all, we have a brain. We have suffered too much under that administration. We're sending a message for them. The same way Philip JPS is giving the United Workers Party 17 not. We should have sent that message for them and give them 70 not. We don't need them people in office. So you're crying and saying we need Philip JPA. And when you could leave, my brother, not because of your dogs eating better than some of us, we need Philip JPA. We're suffering. We're suffering. You have it all already. Give Russia a chance to run the affairs of the country, man. I'm not against you as a Lucian, but I got disrespecting you. But when I hear experienced man, educated man like you, running them old LP records, them things up in style again, I vex, man. Good day, Mr. Tim.
Yes, sir. Good day to you. We have a final call, and then we'll be hearing from an economist. Hello, good afternoon. NewsSpin, you're on the air. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Good afternoon to you, Tim.
Yes,
how are you doing?
I'm okay, caller. Good afternoon to you.
Right. Timothy, a few callers ago, I think very early in your program, because I was trying to connect, but I couldn't. We were speaking about NTRC and ECTEL. You recall that one?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right. Timothy, as a former chairman of NTRC, I can tell you it is really, really a case of the ease of doing business in St. Lucia needs to address seriously. That was one of the biggest problems I realized at NTRC and ECTEL. And I think the structure that has been created by NTRC and ECTEL needs to be revised. Timothy, let me give you a little bit without taking too much time. A simple thing like an amateur radio license in St. Lucia takes something like 2 to 3 months to be approved, just to renew a license. In Barbados, I go to Barbados and to renew my license, and it takes me 15 minutes. Literally 15 minutes to renew my amateur radio license. In St. Lucia, you have to go to NTRC, fill out a form, then you have to go back to town. Now, NTRC is in Bordeaux. You have to go back to town and pay $50 in a building and the waterfront. Then go back up to NTRC with the receipt. Then you have to wait until the PS of the Ministry of Infrastructure approve it. Then it has to go back to NTRC. And then from NTRC, you have to wait again for the document to be signed by the minister. Timothy, that takes 2 to 3 months to get done. I fought that. I brought the proof, but you know what I was told? I'm trying to break the law. I'm trying to break the law by being efficient at NTRC. Now, NTRC is the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission. But NTRC hands are tied because they have to depend on the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Commission to issue the technical side of things for NTRC. And also they're the legal side for NTRC. Now, here is what the problem is. You have commercial people that apply for a license. And I can tell you right now, I'm waiting 3 months to get a frequency. You pay $400 with an application for a frequency to operate your business. Your radios come in, and in customs, sometimes they acquire rent because you cannot clear the goods in time because you don't have a license. Then NTRC will take months. I have 2 clients now who are really upset that they have spent money, they've paid duty for equipment, paid a lot of duty for the equipment, but they cannot operate because NTRC, they're waiting for NTRC, who is also waiting for ECTEL to give them the frequency for a simple thing as a commercial license. Far less when I hear that guy that called in talk about a telecommunications company who wants to come to St. Lucia. These people at NTRC and ECTEL are paid very, very decent salaries. But the efficiency is poor. I struggled in Guy Joseph, the minister's office, with frustration. And the lawyer who was at ECTEL told me I'm trying to break the law. All I was trying to do was to get St. Lucia to realize that the ease of business is important for St. Lucia. The ease of business stinks. People just sit down, they get in big salaries, they're not working efficiently. And that is the problem between ECTEL. And I dare say again, and I'm repeating it again because I've said it before, it's time that the NTRC, which is the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, separate themselves from ECTEL and deal with issuing of license. Because it's frustrating to people who spend money buying equipment, making an application, paying them for the application, and having to wait, and Lord knows when. Lord knows when they will get their frequency to operate. And I have the evidence of this. I made an application for 2 clients on the 29th of January. 29th of January. For a license to operate their radios. And today is the 7th of April or the 8th of April.
The 8th.
And up to now we're waiting for ECTEL and NTRC. Goodness gracious, man. This is efficiency that they don't know about. And it hurts. It hurts when you're trying to be efficient and people just sitting down on their royals. All they're waiting for is a salary at the end of the month. And I have spoken about this time and time again. I'm happy today that I'm hearing someone else talk about the delays from ECTEL and NTRC. It's time they need to address that situation and separate NTRC from ECTEL. If we are National Telecommunications Commission, we should be able to deal with this without depending on anybody else who has their own preferences to deal with. And let me tell you something. And this goes back to the problem with Sky FM, because there are agencies in St. Lucia, companies, radio stations that owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in license fees. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. That ECTEL, will not request that their license be terminated because they're not paying fees. But again, when politics step in, the minister then jumped on Sky FM, who had an application, paid $1,500 for an application, that they received the money and never gave them the license. Is that fair? You pay $1,500 with an application and you cannot get a favorable response? Commercial license, you pay $400 and you have to wait 3 months to get a license issued because NTRC is waiting on ECTEL and ECTEL is waiting on NTRC and that puppy show goes on. This is St. Lucia where we are happy. Thank you, Tim. Have a good day.
You too, sir. Thank you so much for calling. That was our final call. We gave you a bonus today. You ought not to complain. You ought to be thankful. All right. Finally, let us hear from an economist. He is Dr. Thompson Thornton. Yesterday, he was the guest of one Ernesto Cook, who has a podcast. And that's the message he has for consumers in light of the imposition of tariffs by the United States.
The advice I would give to consumers is that now is a good time to start to look at import substitution. So in other words, instead of buying fish from overseas, why not think of supporting your locals more in terms of your local fishermen? Because if there is an increased demand for local fish, then that will help the economy, that will benefit everybody else. I think now is a good time to begin to look at our spending habits. Do we really need that good from Amazon.com? I know Amazon has made it easy for us now. We just go online, a few clicks, and our thing comes. Do we really need those goods coming in? These are some of the hard questions we have to ask ourselves because inflation has the impact of eroding our real incomes. In other words, you become relatively poorer with inflation. And if inflation is high and sustained, it could have a devastating impact on your own pocket, on your own revenues, and on your own income. So it's something to be mindful about. I'm not saying that persons should necessarily panic. We probably are not at that stage of panic just yet, but it may call for some adjustments in the way in which we buy things. Instead of probably buying your suit from overseas, you may want to consult a local tailor to have it made. You know, these are some of the things, that's the basic things I think that people have to start looking at. Because if those tariffs are sustained for any length of time, it can have a devastating impact on our economies, and we'd have to find ways to kind of cushion the impact. And a lot of it would have to do with how we ourselves position ourselves in terms of our spending, in terms of our preferences, and in terms of how we do things. So instead of probably changing your phone every 2 years, you might want to keep your phone for longer. Basic things like that, individuals would have to look at.
Dr. Thompson Fontaine, a Dominica-born economist, speaking yesterday to Ernesto Cook on his podcast. Full disclosure, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, by the way, is the leader of the opposition United Workers' Party over in Dominica. Coming up tomorrow, which one is worse? The taxes have been imposed on the people of St. Lucia by the St. Lucia Labour Party administration, or the tariffs imposed on 180 countries by U.S. President Donald Trump. Join us tomorrow, same time, 12:30, for another edition of the world's most monitored talk show, NewsSpin. My name is Timothy Poleon. Continue to enjoy your Tuesday and continue to listen to this radio station, Power 97.9 FM. Goodbye.